Pixel 7a versus Galaxy A54. Which phone performed better? Hands down, it is the Google Pixel 7a. Stick around until the end of the video and I will walk you through why. If you just look at the specs on the surface, Samsung pretty much destroyed Google Pixel 7a in almost every single spec. But there is one key differentiator between the two phones that makes me pick the Google Pixel 7a over the Galaxy A54 any day. So just in terms of spec, Samsung has 120Hz refresh rate versus the 90Hz on the Google Pixel 7a. For me personally, I don't think it really matters on the smallest screen. Between 90 and 120Hz, can't really tell. Last year, Google had 60Hz refresh rate, so the difference between 60 and 120 will be more noticeable. But this year, Google did bump it up to 90Hz. With the A54, you do have the 256GB model option. Compared to the Pixel 7a, you only have 128. And with the A54, it also includes microSD support up to 1TB. Compared to the Pixel, once again, you just have the base 128 and you want more storage, you gotta buy cloud storage. I guess it depends if you want to invest more in cloud storage or you care more about offline storage. Because in theory, in order to get the 256GB model, you have to pay more for the A54. And then you have to buy 1TB memory card, or depending how much storage you want to get. Pretty sure people have a bunch of cards laying around as well. So it all depends how you want to look at it. Either you pay more for online storage, or you pay more for internal storage. And in addition to that, you can purchase a microSD. The A54 is a slightly bigger phone at 6.4 inches compared to the 6.1 on the Google Pixel 7a. A54 has a bigger battery just because it is a bigger phone, 5000 milliamp versus 4400 milliamp. It also has 25 watt fast charging compared to 18 watt on the Pixel. I personally prefer the design on the A54 more than the Google Pixel 7a. The back is made of plastic, but the A54 is just a cleaner look compared to the plastic back on the Google Pixel 7a, which is a fingerprint magnet. And on top of that, the camera bar is a giant dust magnet as well, especially if you get the darker looking phones. In terms of software support, the A54 actually support their phone longer. You get 4 years of software support compared to the 3 years on the Google Pixel 7a. But the good news is for security updates, both phones are supported for 5 years. I mean, it would be nice to get longer software support, but in theory, realistically, from year to year, Android 12 to 13 and 14, you don't really notice that much of a difference in terms of sort of minor changes. Unless you are a hardcore enthusiast and actually look into these things. I think most people, if you just hand them a phone, they wouldn't be able to tell the difference between Android 12 and Android 13. So that's my take on that. I would like to get the extra software year of support, but it is not at the end of the world since both phones are supported for 5 years in terms of security. With the A54, since all the camera are aligned on one side, if you're using it flat on the table, you will notice that it does wobble. Just because of the fact that the cameras are protruding out. Compared to the Google Pixel 7a, since you get one giant flat bar in the back, if you're using it on a flat surface, everything will be fine. It's not going to wobble back and forth. But if you use a case on your phone, it doesn't really matter because the case usually tend to flush out the camera bars. Okay, now let's jump over to the Google Pixel 7a and some of the things it does better. And it's not really much just in terms of specs, but you do get a slightly higher peak brightness. It comes in at 931 nits compared to the A54 nits on the Galaxy A54. No wonder that was intentional. A54 and A54. So if you're using your phone outside the Pixel 7a, you will have a slightly better viewing angle. But other than that, the A54 is generally a better display. It is larger, brighter, 120Hz refresh rate, but just wanted to give Google some minor points here. Camera, it is a personal preference, but I would give the Pixel 7a the slight edge, just in terms of better low-light photos. Google Pixel 7a does have wireless charging, which is something that you do see a lot of mid-range phones leave out, so I'm glad that they did include that feature here. It's only 5 watt charging, but it's better than nothing. And finally, the biggest reason why I would recommend the Google Pixel 7a over the A54 just comes down to the G2 Tensor chip. It is just a much faster and more efficient chip compared to what the A54 has to offer. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're just looking at a spec sheet, the A54 blows the 7a in almost every single spec, except for the one that I think that matters the most. And when I use both phones side by side, the 7a is just much faster. and that is something that I notice the most on a day-to-day basis when I'm using the phone. The Pixel 7a is just a much more powerful chip. It is the same chip that you're going to see in the soon-to-be released Google Pixel 7 Fold that costs $1,800. So Google is using their best chip in this mid-range phone compared to Samsung, who is not using the best chip in the A series. And you will see the differences just when navigating around. The A54 is going to be 1 or 2 seconds slower in everyday tasks, which is a big improvement over the A53 last year, I must admit. I would argue that phone is 3 to 4 seconds slower for everyday tasks. It was so bad that I stopped using it after a week. But just in general, the 1 to 2 second adds up throughout the day. Everything takes longer to load. 1 to 2 seconds may not seem like much, but in a fast-paced world, you don't want to wait around for every single action to load. It's like going from high-speed internet to dial-up back in the days, if you guys still remember that. Okay, maybe it's not that big of a difference, but I do notice the 1 to 2 second delay in every single action that I do throughout my whole time using the Galaxy A54. I brought the S23 and the A54 on vacation to Hawaii, and I did not even want to touch the A54 just because it is that much slower. But when I use the 7A, it is a similar experience to the S23. It might not be as powerful or as fast, but I would argue it is 80 to 90% of what the S23 has offered just in terms of speed and performance. That is just my personal feel and take based on how I use my phone, and it's just a random number guesstimate that I made up. But the A54 compared to the S23, I would say it is about 60 or 70% of the way there, just in terms of pure processing power and speed, smoothness. So that's just my own personal take. Okay, so spent a lot of time talking about the differences between the A54 and the 7A. Once again, I would still recommend the 7A over any day just in terms of pure power and performance. Let me quickly jump into day 9 and let you guys know how the battery performed. So woke up at 6:15 a.m., spent my morning, make videos as usual, play some Pokemon Go. After an hour waking up, phone is at 80%. Let me fast forward all the way until the end of the day, just so we can wrap up this video. Okay, so by 3:30 p.m., phone is at 18%. That gives it about 9.5 hours today. I did use the camera a lot in the morning when I record these videos. It usually takes about 10 to 20 minutes, so that is a good chunk of the battery. And it is a super busy day of work. I did use my cell phone to attend Teams meeting. I got video chat going on for 2 hours. Google Photos in the background taking up 2 hours of battery as well. Uploading my content. Snapchat running for 20 minutes. 2 hours of screen on time is mostly just my Teams app running for work purposes. And as you can see, today I used a lot of 5G. That took up 15% of the battery as well. And this wraps up day 9. If you want to kill your battery faster than projected, do a lot of video chatting on 5G. Let me know if you guys have any questions or if there's anything else you want me to cover. Remember to like and subscribe. Please check out day 8 if you want to know why the Google Pixel 7a costs $45 less than the Google Pixel 7.